You know, maybe Mika, you and I particularly, you know, having a famous last name is a blessing and it's a burden. And what you have to do, in my opinion, is you have to remember that at the end of the day, you're going to be judged by who you are and what you do with opportunities you were presented. And you have to have enough self-confidence to keep pursuing, you know, your own life and strategy and let the chips fall where they may. So a little too defensive.
I think so, but you're absolutely right. It's a blessing and a curse to have a famous last name. And I think it ultimately calls on you to really know who you are.
Exactly.
And it must be frustrating at a certain stage in adulthood where people are asking you to channel what your father thinks about something.
But of course, Chuck Todd, they were actually asking about President Obama, who somehow lost in translation.
There was that.
No, in all seriousness, and I know Mark Halperin, I think, is on there. I can only imagine what the Clinton folks from '08 are thinking, the Howard Wolfsons of the world who sit there and say, only the Clintons get psychoanalyzed like this over one little. Frankly, she was probably a little bit tired. She's been on a crazy swing out there in Africa. She misheard.
Just a couple of days earlier, this was in the Congo, Secretary Clinton snapping at a college student whose question was mistranslated to say, "What does your husband think?" instead of, "What does the president think?"
What does Mr. Clinton think through the mouth of Mrs. Clinton?
Wait, you want me to tell you what my husband thinks? My husband is not the Secretary of State. I am.
She misheard, and all of a sudden, the tabloids are psychoanalyzing her. So, you know, that's where you got to be a little bit sympathetic with the situation.
Well, and of course,
made a good statement,
she's
though.
my girlfriend, so I'm going to forgive her no matter what she does. At the same time, if Condoleezza Rice acted that way towards a Congolese college student, chances are good we would be talking about that as well. It's pretty extraordinary.
I'll engage in one bit of baseless speculation.
Oh, I love it.
Baseless.
That's what this show's about.
Part of her message on this trip to Africa is about women's rights.
Right.
And I
There
think
you
it's
go.
possible that one of the things she was keying off of was a male student was saying to her, she thought,
What does Mr. Clinton think through the mouth of Mrs. Clinton?
Wait, you want me to tell you what my husband thinks? My husband is not the Secretary of State. I am.
was saying to her, she thought, what does your husband think? Meaning,
Right.
I care what the man thinks and not what you think. So I think her reaction may have been to send a message to
I
Africans.
love it. That's
you
a
know,
great
This is
thought.
not about a man, this is about me.
All right.
Thank you very much, Mark
Thank you.
Halperin. Thank you.
I love it. Yes. I am woman. Hear
Say
me
it to the
roar,
man.
right? Got Helen Reddy to the left of me here, and we got Chuck Todd. Chuck.
But speaking of, I can't even, I was going to say speaking of spinning out of control, but see, I think she was right.
She was tired.
No, I think she was right. All right, let's play it, and then we'll let the viewer decide. Here's Hillary Clinton.
Thank you.
Wait, you want me to tell you what my husband thinks? My husband is not the Secretary of State. I am. So you ask my opinion, I will tell you my opinion. I'm not going to be channeling my husband.
Okay, that's Hillary Clinton. She, of course, misunderstood a question.
What does Mr. Clinton think through the mouth of Mrs. Clinton?
Wait, you want me to tell you what my husband thinks? My husband is not the Secretary of State. I am.
It shows, I think.
What do you think, Vicky? What do you think, Vicky?
Oh, here we
I'm
go.
married to a man who people call Mr. Ward, so that's not his name.
Yeah.
So
He would be the one that
you know, she shouldn't have to say that. I mean, it's painful. It's painful to watch. I feel so sorry for her.
Don't you think it shows that maybe she's had this problem repeatedly and is
I think for many, many years. I don't think in the last two days.
She went through an entire campaign, and at times it was thrown off by.
Although you
Well,
have
Bill
to
Clinton,
say,
yeah, he wasn't the best ally at times.
well, and I was going to say precisely to that point, given that everyone thought he would be such a great political ally during the campaign and he turned out to be anything but, that if you look at the time since she's been Secretary of State, I think that objectively he has not been messing around in her public persona, and the one public action he took in terms of the Korean action was, I think, widely and appropriately applauded.
Right.
So she's very much cut her own swath so far.
Yeah. Well, I just don't mind her saying that.
Except that, of course, Bill Clinton's action just got so much print, so much coverage, and really compared to what she's been doing, let's be honest here. Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, has not got the coverage for a single trip or mission that Bill Clinton got for his one act.
Do you think
But that's because that's dramatic. It's like the Pirates Act got an extraordinary amount of coverage.
Right, we can rationalize it, but it doesn't. But it still remains true that what Bill Clinton blows his nose and the world pays attention.
Right.
Thank you. But do you think this is fair coverage? I mean, all these things calling her angry. Oh, I think she has a point. She's the boss.
I think it's post-coverage.
Okay, exactly. Eugene Robinson, chime in. Final thoughts.
Well, one wonders if perhaps in private meetings or in other settings, people have said, when your husband was president, this is the way things were done or whatever. There just seemed to me to be some sort of background to that we haven't seen in public, because clearly it hit her one nerve, and she misunderstood the question and went off. And you're right.
What does Mr. Clinton think through the mouth of Mrs. Clinton?
Wait, you want me to tell you what my husband thinks? My husband is not the Secretary of State. I am.
And she misunderstood the question and went off. And you're right. Bill Clinton really has not been publicly obtrusive in terms of kind of stealing her thunder. The Korean mission was a humanitarian mission. What's he supposed to do?
Exactly.
And so you don't blame him for that. But I just wonder if, as she talks to world leaders, they don't reminisce about the old days when Bill was the guy.
Yeah.
All right, Eugene Robinson, thank you so much for being with us. We'll be reading your column in this morning's Washington Post.
Is Bill on a humanitarian mission?
He is humanitarian.
Where is he?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Happy birthday,
Where they need to
Mr.
restore hope.
President.
They do. They need to restore hope.
They definitely need to restore occupancy in the hotel.
That's true.
He's doing that
That's
this
true.
weekend. Happy
All right,
birthday,
coming
Mr.
up,
President.
And for the record,
Yeah.
there is a great article on the front page of the Washington Post, among many, of all the work that Hillary Clinton did in Africa.
Yes.
She had an amazing trip
Yes.
there.
We've been saying. That's what we've been
Idiots.
saying all along. You
haven't.
He's like, no, let's just
You
focus
did what
on the
everybody
faux
else
pas.
does. Rabid. Let's take some one
That's
little
our problem.
soundbite where she's real
Anthony,
and make it a story.
Speaking of real, that was fun.
That was so great.
He's great.
With lots of sunshine. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much,
Raphael,
Raphael.
thank you
see,
very
that's how
much.
you do it. He's a pro. He
He's
does
very
it. He never insults
concise,
my wife
no
once.
sexual
makes no
harassment,
suggestive comments.
and he covers
Boom.
the news.
Moves on. Let it be.
Yeah,
let it be.
Let it be.
Let it be.
Seriously?
Let it be.
Let it go. Let's bring
Let
Mike
it
Allen
go.
into this.
Look, I think all of this, we look at the Clintons through, I think, a funhouse mirror. Anything they do, anything they say is interpreted, parsed, pulled apart
But what
to
about
take
the
on
sexism?
Well, I'm getting to that point, and I wrote a piece for our Postpartisan blog yesterday that said, "You go Hillary." For someone, she's in a country and on a continent that where generally male supremacy rules, and so she's asked a question by someone that's translated as asking, what does your husband think of this foreign policy situation? And she looks at him and says, ask me. I'm the Secretary of State. And so she's sending a message to the men and women in that room and in Africa that she will not be condescended to, and not as a woman and not as Secretary of State of the United States of America. I thought she did absolutely the right thing then, and when she found out that the translation was wrong, she went over to the questioner, shook his hand, and they had a little bit of a conversation, hearty smile. She did exactly the right thing. And so, yes, I agree with Dave. I agree that, there's sexism involved here.
We all want an America defined by deep and meaningful equality, from civil rights to labor rights, from women's rights to gay rights, from ending discrimination. There are no acceptable limits, and there are no acceptable prejudices in the 21st century in our country.
We have a common task and a common challenge.
Why can't we see that we are all
in this together.
18 million of you from all walks of life. Women and men, young and old, Latino and Asian, African American and Caucasian, rich, poor and middle class, gay and straight, you have stood with me. And I will continue to stand strong with you every time, every place, in every way that I can. The dreams we share are worth fighting for.